man who constantly thinks that I'm telling him to go get his shine box, and I would never do that to Mike Florio. But the creator and editor-in-chief of Pro Football Talk, and of course the author, is joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. Big Shield, I believe, is coming up. Mike, right? Your book.
Big Shield tomorrow. Rich.
It drops. It drops tomorrow. Right
yeah,
there?
And you can still pre-order it, and the pre-orders are much more significant than I would thought.
Oh, great.
They would have been, but my bar was low. Okay. So I'm very happy with what it's done so far. That's before anyone reads it. Once they read it, they may regret it, but at least for now, I've persuaded a significant number of people to plunk down 99 cents for the ebook, $14.99 for the print. The print is selling well. Like, the ebook is ridiculously priced, and I thought people would skew that way, but the print option is doing well, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's a big week. Okay, it's a week of a lot of anxiety.
So, are you saying people are holding in on the ebook? Is that what you're basically saying? There's a lot of hold-ins right now on the ebook, Mike?
There are plenty of hold-ins. I don't know whether or not those folks have legitimate injuries that would cause them to skip work and stay home and read the book. But if they can get a note,
I love it. Yep.
Right?
I love it. Yep. I get it. Absolutely. Listen, man, I mean, you've been at this just as long as I've had, right? I mean, it's like a Mad Lib every year. We just change the proper names, and you change the proper names of the teams and the players. Although there's one specific Mad Lib involving the Cowboys that includes, like, why aren't they signing this person that we know they're going to sign? But it just strikes me that we're not even close to midnight for some of these deals. And the one that involves Trey Henrickson now actually involves the Bengals taking offers for him. Like, that just makes no sense for me. I'm just going to give you the floor on what you think. Again, we've talked about it by the way, multiple times in which you've appeared this month on this program, that it's going to get done, I feel, but you never know. I guess. What's your 2 cents now that we're here 2 weeks before the season? Mike?
You know, I think we are up to 3 this month. The over-under was 0.5, so that one, that one sailed a long time ago.
Hammer the over.
Wow. Okay.
The reporting from yesterday that the Bengals are listening to offers, that is a subtle yet, in my mind, significant shift from the reporting back in March. And the timeline's important.
Yes.
Max Crosby got his new deal from the Raiders at $35.5 million per year, new money average. Immediately after that, Henrickson got permission to go seek a trade. And I believe the calculation by the Bengals was, let him find out that nobody else wants to pay him what he wants. And I believe he found out no one at the time wanted him to pay what he was looking for. But now we've seen Myles Garrett get to 40, TJ Watt get to 41. The fact that the Bengals, according to the report, are listening to offers, that implies that there are one or more teams out there that are willing to give Henrickson something he would accept, whereas that was not the case earlier in the offseason. So the question now becomes, will the Bengals take whatever the best offer may be? And will they be unreasonable about it? Because, Rich, at a certain point, if the Bengals are saying, well, we want this, we want that, it's like, whoa, if you think he's that great, then why don't you keep him?
Right.
Why don't you sign him? So they need to be reasonable. And if they're willing to be reasonable, it sure seems like listening to offers is a precursor to getting a deal done.
So, but you know how this works too, man. Like, there's a number. It exists. The question is how do you split it up of what's guaranteed, what's not, what's new money, what's not, how much is up front, how much isn't, all of that sort of stuff. The numbers got to exist. And unless, he wants to reset the market. And by the way, that goes the same for McLaurin, I imagine, with the Commanders. And these are the two teams that are playing tonight on Monday Night Football to wrap up preseason week 2. Mike is a different story. We know he can. He's going to reset the market. That's going to be 100%. But the other two, that's the only caveat. I just don't know if those guys are doing that right now.
Well, and structure is so important. Last year when the Bengals were going through a hold-in with receiver Jamar Chase, they made him an offer that would have made him the highest paid receiver, new money APY. But the structure, I was told at the time, was horrendous. So if you're only going to guarantee the first year of the deal, which they've reportedly only been willing to do with Henrickson, what's the point? And if somebody else is willing to guarantee at least 2 years or maybe more than that as a practical matter, those are all the details that rarely get mentioned in the initial burst of news about a report or about a contract being done. That comes afterward, where we really understand what the deal is worth, because all that matters is what you're guaranteed to get the minute you put pen to paper. And you've mentioned Micah a couple times, Rich.
Yes, sir.
I've been saying all along, the Cowboys, I believe, and I continue to believe it, and I think the Easter eggs are there in the things that Jerry Jones says. I think they want to pay him $24 million this year and dare him to cite back tightness or some other malady that keeps him from playing. They're going to dare him to not play football this year, and they're going to squat on $24 million. I firmly believe that's the play that the Cowboys are trying to engineer.
Why?
Because they can, because it's cheaper than paying him. And look at it this way. If he's serious about being traded, and he's done nothing to indicate in the 17 days since he posted on Twitter that very lengthy and seemingly heartfelt explanation that it's time for him to move on from the Cowboys. If they are willing to trade him, what are they going to get for him now that's all that different than what they would get for him after the season? They get the same first-round picks, right? You can't use one now. So I think from their perspective, we treat him as being under contract, because that's what Jerry says. Why are we talking about a new contract? He's under contract. Right. He's got the 5th-year option. He's committed to the Cowboys this year. So he has to choose, do I play football for the Cowboys, or do I play this game week in and week out where I have a back injury or some other problem that keeps me from playing? They get through the season, see how much he does play, and then trade him then out from under the franchise tag. I think that's what they would like to do. I don't really want to trade him. I think they want to kick the can. You know, they only do deals when they absolutely have to. And I think because Micah showed up, if he'd held out, it's a different story. But because he showed up, I think they believe they can kick the can to next year, and I think they'd like to do it.
Wow. That just doesn't compute, man. Listen, I understand what you're saying in terms of, you know, it's less cash out. But, I mean, this is a team that doesn't, you know, I mean, it's about winning it all. And to have a standoff.
Is it, though? Is it?
Yeah, I know that's always the question about the Cowboys. Isn't it about the Forbes number more than another trophy in the case? You know, I understand that, but at the end of the day, though, it should be about winning, and I do believe it is. At the end of the day, makes no sense to have a standoff unless there is that part of the iceberg that we don't see that's going on behind the scenes, where he's a pain in the ass, and some of the coaches from last year and some of the players from previous years are like, you got to hold Micah to account. And this is Jerry doing that on their behalf. That otherwise, why are you kneecapping Eberflus in his first DC and your new HC like this? Why are you doing that over $20 million plus per year, right?
They're assuming, and we're assuming, he won't play. I think that they believe when push comes to shove, he will play. One of the common themes that we see in these contracts, teams will use the players' love of the game, love of the teammates, love of the hometown, love of the favorite team against them. T. Higgins' contract that he ultimately did with the Bengals, when you scratch it and look at it, it really wasn't that great of a deal given the leverage he had, but he wanted to play for the Bengals. He grew up rooting for the Bengals. I think teams will use that against a guy, and they will use, and I believe they're using Micah's love of the game against him and daring him to do this week in and week out. Will he play? Won't he play? And think of it this way, Rich, and I thought the quotes last week from Jerry Jones at the premiere of the Netflix series that drops tomorrow, I think his 365-day-a-year soap opera soliloquy, I think that is so telling as to what he's ultimately motivated by, and that is keeping the Cowboys front and center. And so if they do this $24 million for Micah and don't make him an offer that he'll accept before week 1, and one of the storylines every week, will Micah play? Will Micah play? That just guarantees all year long. If they weren't going to be one of the short list of teams we talk about all the time anyway, they definitely will be. What's up with Micah this week? What's up with Micah this week? And at what point will he play? And I think they are banking on him when push comes to shove showing up and playing for $24 million this year. He played for $3 million last year. I mean, think about it, Rich. They're potentially going to get 2 years out of Micah Parsons for $27 million, $13.5 million a year, 2 of his prime years. If they trade him next year, so be it. But they're going to be able to say, hey, we got a great deal here. Everybody else is paying the high-end defensive players $35, $40 million a year. We got Micah 2 years for 27. I think that's part of the calculation, along with the talk about us, talk about the Cowboys, pay attention to the Cowboys.
Well, I mean, in terms of the Micah stuff, Mike, people that I talk to tell me he's just a different cat. He will hold out. Like, he will basically, he's the type of guy that will zag when everyone else is zigged back into the fold. That he's just a different guy. And he's very prideful. And in the same way that Jerry might be obstinate, like we had a handshake agreement, he'd be like, wait a minute. Now, I'm not apologizing for asking for my agent to come in here. And I know you feel like a handshake's a handshake, but I'm also, the only guy other than Reggie White that's had these many sacks in the first 4 years of a career. And I'm Micah friggin' Parsons. And so be it. Like, and that's where this thing can really go down a rabbit hole right there. It just makes no sense it doesn't, it's, and I know you're a Seinfeld guy, right? Isn't that line? It's not good for anybody. You know what I mean? That's
not going to be good for business. That's not going to be good for anybody. That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
That's the relevant Seinfeld line here, Mike, right?
Well, it's not a party
like
until Mr. Marble
right?
shows
that's
up.
Right.
So, but Rich, and I know there's two schools of thought here, and the Micah strategy was, I'll show up and I'll be a distraction, right? First of all, Jerry doesn't mind distractions. He welcomes distractions because it's just another reason to talk about the Cowboys. I believe Micah should have held out. The two guys in recent years, Ezekiel Elliott in 2019 and CeeDee Lamb last year, you hold out, you force midnight to come as of week 1 if you hold out. The hold in, again, they have a can that they can kick into 2026, and I think they're going to try to do it. He would have been far more likely to get the contract he's trying to get, $45 million per year, new money APY presumably, if he had held out. But guys are less likely to hold out now. Those daily fines, although they're waivable for a guy like Micah, that money adds up. You lose if you're a guy under his 5th-year option. The fine for missing a preseason game is a game check. So it's $24 million divided by 18. That's the fine. Now, I don't know if the Cowboys are going to play hardball there, but Micah decided, I'm just going to show up. I think he would have been in a better position to get the long-term contract if he had held out the way Elliott did and the way Lamb did.
Well, neither Elliott nor Lamb were, told by Jerry, you need to be a better of a leader. Although maybe Zeke was. I don't know. But that wasn't part of the Lamb conversation last year. And that was why, from what in the conversations that I've had, that the Micah showing up is him saying, you want to be a leader? I'm here leading by my presence, as opposed to being like CD last year. And I was told that was part of the handshake, one-on-one conversation that apparently, again, is still lingering today as a major sticking point in the conversations that aren't being had between Jerry and Micah's team. I was told Micah showed up because this was his way of saying, you want me to be a leader? I'm here, even though it might be better for me not to, in your respect, Mike. That's what I was.
And Rich, look, I don't want to give the Cowboys too much credit because I believe that they are very short-sighted and cheap and not as smart as they think they are when it comes to dealing with these players who need and deserve and have earned contracts. But hey, that leadership talk got him to show up, and they have a lot more leverage over him if he shows up, and they can do this $24 million for 2025 thing if they believe they can pull it off. So this goes back to a report from the Cowboys flagship radio station in April of 24 that his act was wearing thin. And I look at it this way. If you have problems with Micah Parsons, then trade him. Because there will be teams out there that will tolerate a guy who does a podcast and talks about his team. Yes. I mean, he is good enough that you put up with that. So if you're not willing to put up with it, trade him to someone who will. And that could be the end result after this season. I'll be very surprised if he's traded before the season or during the season. I think that this lines up for a possible get through 2025 and then tag and trade in 2026.
Yeah, and I think that tracks, again, you're saying the Easter eggs that Jerry's saying. A number of times Jerry's like, why do I got to talk to him? I mean, he's under contract. So, I mean, that he keeps on referring to what you're referring to, that $24 million for the year. Before I let you go, Mike Florio, what are we not talking about from preseason week 2? What jumped out at you that you think actually does augur anything for the 2025 season or has something to do with a win or loss? Mike Florio, I give you the floor. What do you got?
I'm curious about your Jets.
Okay.
When Aaron Glenn is repeatedly saying how sloppy the offense looks and Justin Fields didn't have a great night in the Snoopy Bowl, I don't think they do that trophy anymore. Though.
No,
they probably
don't.
got rid of that after Mark Sanchez got reinserted into the game, right? They probably decided let's not have anything at stake in this game, just in case.
You left out the relevant end of that sentence of the facts, Mike, and got hurt.
Right. Yes.
And got hurt. That's very relevant. But what else intrigued you about them then? What do you got?
Well, I mean, look, the week 1 schedule. The 8 games at 1 o'clock Eastern. Without question, Steelers-Jets is the biggest one. How is that not a standalone game in week 1? And I think Mike North, the schedule guru, said if we had known for sure that Rodgers was going to the Steelers, that would not have been a 1 o'clock Eastern game. That is huge. That is huge for the Steelers and Rodgers going back to MetLife Stadium and Justin Fields facing the team that he was the week 1 starter for last year. And we just assume that Aaron Glenn's going to go in there and flip a switch and some of that Lions DNA is going to turn the Jets around. And I like where the Jets are going. I just don't know how quickly it turns around. So some of his comments from that preseason game, both at halftime and afterward, it just makes me wonder how much Aaron Glenn and the new coaching staff can really do to get the Jets to dramatically improve right away. And a lot of it's going to depend on what Justin Fields is able to do. It's the first time ever, if Fields is the week 1 starter, and there's no reason to think he won't be,
right.
First time ever that 2 quarterbacks who started for a team week 1 year were starting for the opposite team in the game where those 2 teams were playing each other the next year.
No doubt. It is big. And but we just saw some other ones too. I mean, Bucks, Falcons is pretty damn big. The Bengals and the Browns are now going to start. Joe Flacco is pretty big. I mean, there's some other great week 1 games. And, I guess when Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs, Chargers, and Cowboys, Eagles are the standalone games, that's how a Jet-Steeler matchup, that piece of filet mignon winds up as a 1 o'clock Eastern banger. You know what I mean? It's going to be great.
It's coming quickly.
That's right.
Isn't it amazing? We wait and we wait and we wait, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, it's here.
I know. It's so exciting. So exciting. And I feel the same way about Big Shield.
It's here.
It's here. Well, we'll be tomorrow. You can pre-order it right now wherever you get your books, the ebook. Let's get those numbers up, people. But in this day and age, though, people want to have an actual book, paper, read it. Love that. That's pretty cool. That's old school.
I am going to send you a copy.
Okay.
I'm going to sign it with this pen.
Take the pen.
And it's going to say, add this book to the Pay No Mind list.
No, stop it.
We'll put it on the desk.
That's absurd, man. Send the pen. You know what I mean? Send the pen, too. Take the pen.
Take the pen.
Take the pen. The right's upside down.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Well, you know what? This one doesn't write at all because I had a meeting down here on Friday and I left the frickin' cap off of it all weekend. So this pen will not be signing anything.
That's an off-season move, man. Come on now. The season's here. Thanks again, Mike, for all your time, and we'll chat in February. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
All right, that soon?
Stop. Mike Florio here on the Rich Eisen Show, everybody, from Pro Football Talk. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.